Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate. So I'm going to start with verse number 23. Yadi hayaham na varteyam jatu karmane atandritaha mama vartu manu vartante manushya partha sarvashaha.
For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties or path, certainly all men would follow my path.
Verse number 24. Utsideyurime loka na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasyam upahanyam ima prajaha.
If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings.
Sakta karmane avidvamso yata kurvanti bharata kuryad vidvams tata saktas sikursu lokasangraham.
As the ignorant perform their duties with attachment to results, the learned may similarly act, but without attachment for the sake of leading people on the right path.
Verse number 26. Na buddhi bedam janayed ajnanam karma shanginam joshayat sarva karmani vidwan yukta samacharan.
So as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness.
Verse number 27. Prakrite kriya manani gunai karmani sharvashaha ahankara vimudatma kartaham iti manyate.
The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature.
Verse number 28. Tatvavitu mahabaho guna karma vibhagayo guna guneshu vartanta iti matva na sajjate.
One who is in knowledge of the absolute truth, almighty armed, does not engage himself in the senses and sense gratification, knowing well the differences between work in devotion and work for fruitive results.
Verse number 29. Prakrite guna samuddaha sajjante guna karmashu tana krishna vido mandan krishna vinna vichalaye.
Bewildered by the modes of material nature, the ignorant fully engage themselves in material activities and become attached. But the wise should not unsettle them, although these duties are inferior due to the performer's lack of knowledge.
Text number 30. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya dhyatma chetasa nirasir nirmamo bhutva yujyasva vigatajvaraha.
Therefore, O Arjuna, surrendering all your works unto me with full knowledge of me, without desires for profit, with no claims to proprietorship, and free from legacy fight.
Text number 31. Yeme matam idam nityam anutistanti manavaha shraddhavanto nasuyanto muchyante tepi karma bihi.
Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions.
632. Yetve etad abhyasuyanto nanutistanti me matam sarvagyana vimurdamstan vidhi nastan achetasaha.
But those who, out of envy, disregard these teachings and do not follow them regularly are to be considered bereft of all knowledge, befooled, and ruined in their endeavors for perfection.
Text number 33. Sadrisam chestate swasyah prakrite jnanavanapi prakritim yanti bhutani nigraham kim karishyati.
Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows the nature he has acquired from the three modes. What can repression accomplish?
Text number 34. Indriyasyarthe ragadvesho vyavastito tayornavasham agache tauhayasya paripantino.
There are principles to regulate attachment and aversion pertaining to the senses and their objects. One should not come under the control of such attachment and aversion because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self realization.
635. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat swa anustitat swadharme nidanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha.
It is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duty, for to follow another's path is dangerous.
Text number 36. Arjuno vacha atakena prayuktoyam papam charati purushaha anichan api varshneya balad iva niyojitaha.
Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force?
Text number 37. Sri Bhagavanu vacha kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhavaha mahashano mahapapma videnam iha vairinam.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, it is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is all devouring sinful enemy of this world.
Text number 38. Dumena vriyate vahnir yata darsho malena cha yatolbena vrito garbhas tata te nedam avritam.
As fire is covered by smoke, as a mirror is covered by dust, or as the embryo is covered by the womb, the living entity is similarly covered by different degrees of this lust.
639. Avritam jnanam etena vairina kamarupena kaunteya duspurena nalena cha.
Thus, the wise living entity's pure consciousness becomes covered by this eternal enemy in the form of lust, which is never satisfied and which burns like fire.
Text number 40. Indriyani manobuddhir asyadisthanam uchate etai vimohayati esha jnanam avrita dehinam.
The senses, the mind, and the intelligence are the sitting places of this lust. Through them, lust covers the real knowledge of the living entity and bewilders him.
Text 41. Tasmat tvam indriyanadau niyamya bharatarsabha papmanam prajahi hayenam jnana vijnana nashanam.
Therefore, O Arjuna, best of the Bharatas, in the very beginning curb this great symbol of sin, lust, by regulating the senses, and slay this destroyer of knowledge and self realization.
Text number 42. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manaha manasastu para buddhir yo buddhe paratastu saha.
The working senses are superior to dull matter. Mind is higher than the senses. Intelligence is still higher than the mind, and he, the soul, is even higher than the intelligence.
Text number 43. Evam buddhe param buddva samstavyatmanam atmana jahi shatrum mahabaho kamarupam durashadam.
This knowing oneself to be transcendental to the material senses, mind, and intelligence, O mighty armed Arjuna, one should steady the mind by deliberate spiritual intelligence, Krishna consciousness, and this by spiritual strength conquer this insatiable enemy known as lust. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna,
Sorry.
thank you. No, that's okay, but it was wonderful recitation. Both of you, Sham Prabhu and Jyoti Mataji. Sham Prabhu, your Sanskrit is amazing.
Thank you so much, Mataji. I'm so blessed to hear that.
No, it's
I mean,
amazing. Do you learn it, or do you just, I mean, how you learn Sanskrit?
Well, when I was a child, I had Sanskrit as third language, but then I'm doing this after so many decades. But every day I recite one chapter
Oh,
of
brilliant.
Sanskrit. Yeah.
Very beautiful. Thank you so much.
Mataji, I'm so sorry. I didn't expect, but today they had asked me to come to office to London. So I just came to the temple. So I thought this is the wise place.
No, that's fine. No, that's
sorry
fine.
about
Luckily, luckily the sound was much lower when you were reciting. So that was good.
that.
Thank you very much.
I just came upstairs to
Okay.
close above.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. Thank you so much for reciting. Again, wonderful English recitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All right, so we are continuing with our discussion of Chapter 3, Karma Yoga. I hope all of you are well. Thank you for joining every single day. It's wonderful to see so many of you joining. I'll just share my screen. Just give me a minute. Let me get my pointer. Okay, can you all see the screen now?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, right. So we are discussing today verse number 31 from chapter 3. Okay, I'll just recite the verse and then we'll do the translation in purport. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 31. Ye me matam idam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto anusyanto muchyante tepi karmabhi. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Does anybody want to read the purport?
Shall I read?
Yes.
Shall I read?
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna, everyone. The injunction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna is the essence of all Vedic wisdom and therefore is eternally true without exception. As the Vedas are eternal, so this truth of Krishna consciousness is also eternal. One should have firm faith in this injunction without envying the Lord. There are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. They will never be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. But an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunction of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunction of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness.
Thank
Hare
you so
Krishna.
much. Thank you so much, Bhagavati Mataji. We've been missing you, but I know that you had a family tragedy, so you were not attending, but I'm so happy to see you back again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji. Very nice. Thank you.
Okay, before we continue, we'll just recite our prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay, so let's see what we can get out of this verse. It's a very small purport, but it's got some very, very important messages for all of us. So the first thing, let's go straight into the fact that in the purport, Prabhupada is talking about how we are in this bondage and we will not be liberated. So the question is, how do we get entangled in this bondage? What is this bondage that we are entangled in? The bondage, of course, is of the cycle of birth and death, but why are we caught up in this? So obviously the answer is that every action has a reaction, and thus our karma is creating this bondage. So where we are at today is because of our past karmas. Nothing happens by chance. Nothing happens automatically. There's always a cause. There's always a reason for what is happening. So whatever activity we are performing, obviously it has got a reaction. And because of our past karmas, we are constantly bound by the laws of karma. The laws of karma, as we know, is very, very strong. So then the question arises, so do we stop all our activities? But we've read and heard and understood that the soul can never stop any activity. The soul is constantly, consciousness is actually the nature of the soul, and the soul cannot really stop any activity. And we've heard in this chapter also that you're constantly performing some activity, right? So then the question is that the laws of nature is such that you perform an activity and then you have a reaction and you're bound. So what do we do? Now, Krishna is saying that you will be free from all fruitive activities. See, in this verse, this is what Krishna is saying in this particular verse, where he says that if you follow my teachings, then you will be free from bondage of fruitive activities. So what is happening here is, yes, we are getting this promise that we will be free from all activities, but there are conditions. Yeah, there's always conditions. You see, you don't get anything just like that. There's always conditions. Now, the one thing we are certain of is Krishna's guarantee. Krishna is giving us this guarantee that you choose this particular path, move in the direction of, the spiritual movement, take Krishna consciousness sincerely, and then success is guaranteed. let us look at the various, what Krishna is doing is that to convince all of us through Arjuna, of course. So when he's having this dialogue with Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, through Arjuna and through the dialogue that he's having, through the instructions that he's giving to Arjuna, he is trying to convince each and every one of us. And so he repeats the same message a number of times throughout in the Bhagavad Gita. So what I've done is I've just picked up a few verses where Krishna is actually promising us, he's giving us a guarantee what we will achieve if we follow the conditions. Now, what he's saying is that whoever, faithfully follows my instructions without any envy, you see, without any envy, in this verse also Krishna is saying that, will be free from bondage. And just a couple of verses from the Bhagavad Gita where exactly the same thing is being said. So in Bhagavad Gita 12.6 and 7, it says, those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me, being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds on me, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. So here Krishna is promising us, although we realize that we are caught in this cycle of birth and death because of our actions and because of the reactions that we'll get through that. But Krishna says, you forget all of that. Don't worry about it. Just turn to me. Just take up devotional service. And I am promising you, this is my promise, that I will deliver you from the ocean of birth and death. Right? Elsewhere, in verse 9.22, he says the same things. This verse we have repeated a couple of times because it is such a beautiful verse. He says, Ananyas chintayanto mam ye jana paryupashate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yoga shemam vahamyaham. But those who always worship me with exclusive devotion, meditating on my transcendental form, to them I carry what they lack and I preserve what they have. So again, the same promise, the condition is given, you turn to me, you perform devotion, you do devotional activities, and then I will be there for you, right? A couple more. So this is 1865, very, very famous verse, Manmana Madhbhat Bhakto, you all know this verse. So it says here, always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Again, here Krishna is promising. And then the last one, which is 8.14, for one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So you see, like in this verse where Krishna is saying that, anybody who follows my injunctions, who follows my teachings faithfully without envy, will become free from the bondage of fruitive actions. This is not the only time that Krishna is promising this. Throughout the Bhagavad Gita, in many places, he is promising us that. And when Krishna is promising this, all that he's asking from us, faithfully believe me, faithfully follow my injunctions, do what I'm asking you to do without envy. Most important thing, without envy. So let's look at some important points from the verses. Now, the main thing that we'll pick up from the verse is that the truth of Krishna consciousness is eternal. In the purport, Prabhupada says that the injunction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is the essence of all Vedic wisdom and therefore is eternally true without exception. Now, as we all know, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken on the Kurukshetra by Krishna to Arjuna. These are not some words spoken by some random people, right? In fact, it says that not the sages who are in the mode of goodness and even above, the demigods, the heavenly personalities, even they cannot understand, or they don't understand the scriptures completely, what to speak of human beings, right? Even they don't know it. So it's not coming from them, because it is coming from a much higher source. It is coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. It's coming from Krishna. And because it is coming from Krishna, there are two things. One is that it is the absolute truth, and it is eternal, because it is coming from Krishna. You see? So when we understand that this is coming from Krishna, and great personalities like the demigods and great sages, don't really know the entire thing, because it says in the Bhagavatam, it says, Dharma tu Shakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. Only Krishna, only the eternal knows these real principles. Nobody else knows it. But in the Bhagavatam, it also says that the 12 Mahajans understand this. We won't go into the detail of who the 12 Mahajans are, but Lord Brahma is one of them. Shiva is there. The 4 Kumaras are there. So they are the 12 Mahajans who know these things. And once when Prabhupada was giving this lecture on this verse, on the Bhagavatam verse about the 12 Mahajans, some of his disciples said, Prabhupada, you are the 13th disciple, 13th Mahajan. And it's true, a pure devotee of the Lord, because he's carrying the exact same message as Krishna is giving through the scriptures. So he also becomes a Mahajan, you see. But the problem is that because we have this envious nature. Why? In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that Ekale Ishvara Krishna Aura Sabha Bhartya, means Krishna is the master, everybody else is the servant. But in today's world, in today's day and age, and even previously, nobody wants to be the servant. Everybody wants to be the controller and the master. So nobody is willing to accept that Krishna is the supreme controller. And unless we get rid of this envious nature of ours, we will not be able to come to that platform where we are able to understand Krishna. As we know, understanding Krishna is very, very difficult. Prabhupada says in so many of his lectures, and in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself is saying that out of thousands and thousands of men, one may actually try to understand Krishna, and even out of that, there is hardly anybody who can understand me, right? So then what is it? What is it that will help us? So it says over here that studying the Gita without faith has no benefit, but firm faith will give us surety and success. In the purport, Prabhupada says there are many philosophers who write comments on the Bhagavad Gita but have no faith in Krishna. Definitely they will not be liberated from the bondage of fruitive action. However, we know the story of this Brahmana. So on the left, you will see the image of Mahaprabhu who is hugging this Brahmana. When Mahaprabhu was on his travels in the south of India, he was visiting this Ranganath temple. And outside the temple, there was this Brahmana who was sitting under a tree and reading the Bhagavad Gita. And there were other Brahmanas who were actually ridiculing him. They were saying, oh, so you're reading the Gita? What does the Gita say? And they were asking him all kinds of questions. The reason being that, anyways, we'll come to that in a second. This Brahmana who was reading the Bhagavad Gita, he had tears in his eyes. And Mahaprabhu went up to him and he asked him, you're reading the Bhagavad Gita? What are you reading? And the Brahmana realized that this Brahmin is not ridiculing me. He's actually genuinely asking the question. So he said to Mahaprabhu that I actually am illiterate. I cannot read. But I have been given the instruction by my spiritual master that I must read the Bhagavad Gita every day. And that is why I am sitting and following that instruction and reading the Bhagavad Gita. So Mahaprabhu said, but if you cannot read, why do you have tears in your eyes? And the Brahmana said that when I am looking at the pictures and I see that Krishna is become the charioteer for Arjuna, I just cannot imagine here the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the overall controller, the master of everybody. He has so much love and compassion for his devotees that he has become the driver, the charioteer for Arjuna. And when I see that love and compassion, I cannot help myself but cry. And at that time, Mahaprabhu hugged the Brahmana and he said that you have read the Bhagavad Gita correctly and have understood it. So what we are talking about here is not somebody who is a great scholar who can recite the Sanskrit shlokas. You may be able to do it, but if you don't have the faith in the words that Krishna is speaking in the Gita, then what is the point? So if only we can only get liberated, as it says in the purport, that there is no chance of getting liberation from fruitive action unless you have faith in the scriptures and you have no envy. You don't think of yourself as the controller. Now, these things are very difficult because we are so conditioned to come to this platform of pure goodness where we don't want to be in control, we don't want to be in charge, we are not interested in any kind of sense pleasure. Is not easy. It's not easy. We may listen to it again and again and again, but in actuality, to practice it is not easy. But Srila Prabhupada and Mahaprabhu have given us this path where they have said, just by chanting, just by performing devotional service, we will reach that stage someday. Anyways, so we will continue just to understand a bit more about this. So like I was saying, that it is not very easy for us to give up controllership, However, if we see that when we follow the laws of the land, we live a relatively free life in the sense that, we know that there are certain laws that we have to follow when we are living. Let's say even just for a mundane example as following traffic signals. When the signal is red, you have to stop. When it's green, you can go. So you have to follow these signals if you don't want to get into trouble. If you don't follow the signals, then you will be in trouble. If you don't follow the laws of the land, then you will be in trouble. Likewise, Krishna has some laws. Krishna has given us these laws. And we need to follow those laws in order to remain free. Now, it's funny, one will think, why are we following rules, but we are remaining free? So let's take this example. Prabhupada uses this analogy and this example quite often. If you've seen cows and bulls, they are controlled by tying a rope through their nose, and then the rope is used to control them. Now, if a cow is, follows the order in the sense that knows what to do and what not to do, the owner is happy to kind of untie the rope and let it graze, because he knows that eventually the cow will come back here. But if the cow does not do that, and makes a run for it, then obviously she has lost her freedom. And then the next time, the farmer or the owner of the cow will not allow or will not give her even that little bit of freedom. So likewise, if we are willing to follow the rules and regulations, they are for our own safety and they are to give us that minute independence and that minute freedom. But if we misuse our freedom, then we will be put in the prison of Maya Devi, and that's where we are right now. And as you know, Maya Devi represented, by Durga Ma, she holds a trident. The trident has got 3 pointed things, like the spear kind of thing. And those 3 represent the threefold miseries of life. Anybody wants to say what are the threefold miseries of life? I'm sure a lot of you know it.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
My humble obeisances. And the threefold miseries are called Tapatrayam. They are Adhyatmik, Adi Bhautik, Adi Daivik.
That's right. Thank you, Rupa Mataji. Thank you very much. So these miseries are sometimes inflicted by other people, sometimes inflicted upon us by Mother Nature. Sometimes it is due to our own selves, in the sense that, we are diseased, we are mentally disturbed, physically disturbed. So constantly when you're in this material world, when you are in this prison house under the rule of Maya Devi, we are constantly being put through these threefold miseries. But when we give our controllership to Krishna, when we allow Krishna to control our lives, so in a sense, you think that you no longer are free, but you will realize that is the actual freedom. And again, let's look at a very interesting analogy. As you can see this kite, I don't know how many of you have flown kites. In India, a lot of people used to fly kites. I don't see that these days. So, this generation of children, I'm not sure how many fly kites, but we grew up, I didn't fly kites, but the brothers and everybody would fly kites. When you see this kite flying, it is not flying by itself. Obviously, of course, the force of wind and whatever is there, but you see that this thread or this rope that is tied to the kite, and somebody who is holding on to this rope is actually controlling the movement of the kite, right? So although it is tied by a thread, it has got so much freedom that it is able to fly really, really high. But the controllership is still with somebody who's standing on the ground, and he is controlling that kite. Likewise, if we are able to, if we understand that our controllership is with the Supreme Lord, I'm just going to mute a few people because there's a bit of background sound. Okay, it's better. So if we are able to understand that we are being controlled either by the material nature or by Krishna. And it is for us to choose and decide whom we want to give our controllership to, right? So if we understand this and we remain within the jurisdiction of the injunctions that Krishna has given us, then Krishna is promising that then you will not have to suffer. You will not have to come back again to suffer. So Krishna is giving us this choice. He's giving us this choice. He's also giving us this intelligence, and he's giving us the scriptures and acharyas who can guide us to make the right choice. But he will not force us, of course. He will not force us. And let's see what happens if we misuse the freedom that we've been given, if we misuse the intelligence that we've been given. I'm sure majority of you know what this picture is depicting, who we are going to speak about. So this is Ajamil. Now, we have discussed the story of Ajamil a couple of times on the chat sessions, but just for any newcomers, if they are here, very briefly, we'll go through the story. So Ajamil was a wonderful Brahmana who followed all the rules and regulations of his Varna. He was, performing his yagyas, performing the duties of a Brahmin. So Brahmanical duties, he was fulfilling everything, was helping his father in assisting him in performing yagyas. One day, he went to the forest to collect some materials in order to perform this yagya. And on his way back, he happened to see a not so good scene. So there was a male and not a very chaste female who were embracing. And when he saw this, his mind got so agitated that he forgot all of his past good values and upbringing and what his role is as a Brahmin. And he really went really low and low and low in his day-to-day dealings. He started living with this particular lady, and performing all kinds of abominable activities in order to support her and himself. He stayed like that for many years, and then obviously eventually at the time of death, he saw that these fierce looking Yamadutas have come to take him. And when the Yamadutas came at the same time, you can see the Vishnudutas came, and Vishnudutas and the Yamadutas had this conversation between them, that the Vishnudutas trying to say, no, you cannot take him because, he is a Brahmin, he's done whatever. Now, all of this is happening simply because when he was lying on his deathbed, he called out Narayan. Now, he called out Narayan because Narayan was the name of his younger son, who he was very attached to. But you see, Krishna does not forget what you have done. And also it says in the Bhagavad Gita that at the time of death, if you remember, so it's not like, Ajamil in his pure consciousness was remembering Krishna, but he still took the name of Narayan. And Krishna is so merciful that even if you have taken the name not in a pure state, he will still come. And so there is this argument happening between the Yamadutas and the Vishnudutas, and eventually the Vishnudutas managed to get rid of the Yamadutas. They had to leave, they had to retreat. And it's not saying that Ajamil was liberated, but what happened with Ajamil was that at least he was given a second chance. He was given a second chance. And when he got the second chance, he realized that what he was doing was so wrong. It was completely, it was just completely and utterly abominable. And when he realized that, obviously, he then, changed his lifestyle and changed whatever else. What we are showing over here is that because you have performed some activities in the past with full faith, you've taken the Lord's name, you have surrendered to him. Yes, it may happen that because of some circumstances you've made mistakes, but the Lord is so loving that he's willing to give you a second chance. Again, the underlying factor is that there should not be any enviousness, as long as there is no enviousness. And then some other important points from the purport is that when we have faith, sometimes, yes, we may not be able to execute the injunctions. However, because we still have faith, we believe in what Krishna is telling us, we believe in his instructions, although we are not able to at that particular time follow it. Like, for example, in the beginning of our Krishna conscious journey, a lot of us struggle. I mean, this I speak from my own example. A lot of us struggle that because coming from a Hindu background, we grow up with praying to so many different demigods. When you come to Krishna consciousness first, then you're told that, oh, these are demigods. And you start to think, why are they addressing them as demigods? Everybody is God, isn't it? That's the understanding of most Hindus. Everybody is God. So I remember when we started our Krishna conscious journey, and we were doing the course Gita Life, and we were told that these are demigods and whatever. Obviously, it would kind of surprise me, but I wasn't resentful to the fact that Krishna is God. I did not resent that, And we were told when we did Gita Life, I remember the first statement that our teacher told us was, at least theoretically accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And by the end of this course, we will prove it to you. And that's exactly what happened. So in the beginning, we went with doubts. By the end of reading the Bhagavad Gita and understanding it, we realized that yes, this, and we developed that firm faith. So initially we were not able to follow everything that was being taught to us or told us, but we had the faith. And because we kept that faith, we were eventually able to understand that, okay, what is Krishna consciousness? And this picture that I have is just a story of faith. I'm sure, again, this story, very common. A lot of you will know it, but again, very briefly, there was a time when the ocean took away the eggs of this little sparrow. And the sparrow went to the edge of the ocean and said, I want you to return the eggs, my eggs. And obviously, the ocean is kind of, just thinking, what is this little sparrow going to do to me? And the ocean refuses. And the sparrow says, I am warning you, you have to return these eggs to me, my eggs to me. Otherwise, I will empty the entire ocean and get my eggs. Now imagine this little sparrow saying to the ocean that I will empty the entire ocean. And not only does she say that, she actually starts doing it. Taking a drop of water in her beak, one drop of water, and she was doing that. She was executing her duty with faith. She was not worried whether she will be defeated. She was not hopeless. She had the faith. That's all. She just had the faith, And because of that, Garuda came. And when Garuda heard the whole story, Garuda obviously warned the ocean that if you don't return her eggs, then I will definitely empty all the water from you. And then the ocean gave the eggs back to the sparrow. So here, what we can actually compare that our faith is a little like the eggs. Our faith is like the eggs, and the Maya is like the ocean. So the Maya is covering our faith. And then we have pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada and other such devotees who are like Garuda, who come and say to Maya, you release this, release the faith, release the consciousness of this person. And that's how we can look at it. So if we surrender, of course, to the movement, if we surrender to what is being taught by our acharyas, I'm just going to stop sharing here. So if we actually, with complete faith in our scriptures, understanding that these scriptures are not ordinary books, these scriptures are coming from the spiritual world, like how the Maha Mantra is coming from the spiritual world. So it says that in conclusion, what I will say is, okay, it's 35. In conclusion, what it is our advancement in spiritual life is directly connected to the faith and the non-envious acceptance that we have of Krishna, his words and his teachings. If we are able to faithfully, without any envy, accept what Krishna is telling us, then we will make spiritual advancement. If there is always doubt, if there is envy that I want to be the controller, I want to be the enjoyer, then obviously there will be impediments in our growth. You see? So Krishna is only seeing, all that Krishna wants to see is faith and humility, nothing else. Faith and humility. And in the previous verses, we've been discussing that by performing yajna and by performing sacrifices to the various demigods, so the demigods and the human beings live in harmony. But we've also read and studied that the greatest yajna in this Kali Yuga is obviously chanting of the holy name, performing Sankirtan. And if we can chant the holy name with faith and humility, then Krishna is promising us that he will liberate us from the cycle of birth and death. That's his promise time and time again in the Bhagavad Gita. So I will stop here now for any questions or comments, realizations, corrections.
Hare Krishna, Mother Kumari. Wonderful class. Such a wonderful delivery. Actually, what I felt, that you got so much faith on Krishna, and I can see how much service wonderfully you are performing in the temple. And without the faith and without the surrender, this arrangement is not done. You know, it's not just you want to do a service and it will be arranged, because you have, I mean, I'm saying you because you are giving the class. And unless we have the firm faith on Krishna's words and follow his direction, this arrangement is not done. You know?
Radhika Mataji, it is all, honestly, it is all the blessings and mercy of all the various devotees that I have encountered in my journey of Krishna consciousness, honestly.
Definitely. Because you have that faith and because you are pursuing with that understanding, this arrangement happened, because everything is Krishna's. Everything arrangement is Krishna's. So,
Yes.
and as you are speaking, the way you are speaking, it's so much convincing words. You know, it really penetrates to the heart, and it really helps to lift the spirit of everybody. I'm sure everybody felt the same.
No, I, Mataji, pray that, you know, what I'm speaking, I'm able to apply that in my life also. Sometimes it is easy to speak and then you don't apply it, and then you feel like you're such a useless soul, you know, but anyways,
you know,
what to do?
The word come, way the word, because Krishna is in your heart. He's speaking through you, and you are kind of giving this knowledge so nicely, so systematically, and it's really penetrating the heart, and it will too, because your faith will, you know, through Krishna, because it's Krishna's word, definitely. And it's so nice, so nice to hear you. And I'm really grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I would like to echo the words of Palika Mataji.
Prabhuji, you are very kind.
Not only that, you said earlier in one of the slides that don't worry if you do not have so much faith. The way to build up faith, as I have learned, is to associate with duties like this particular forum and other forums.
Yes.
And what it is, I found that when we don't have any faith, but somehow by God's mercy and the devotee's mercy, we have this association, and somehow the faith is transferred from one heart to another. It's not something that is physically visible, but it is there in a subtle form.
Yeah.
So the association is so important.
Yeah.
And yes, you are doing so wonderfully, and we are so proud of you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I will just add one more thing. This is again my realization, because I've been very fortunate that almost every day I've got some or the other service at the manor. And the realization that I want to share is that Krishna consciousness runs on two tracks, you know, like a train runs on these two tracks. One of the tracks is your sadhana, where you're reading and chanting and whatever, but the other track is association and service. And I personally have realized that just by constantly associating with other devotees and doing service with them, you know, your consciousness just evolves. You know, because there are sometimes differences, there are problems while doing a service, but your consciousness just evolves, and it is amazing. So I would just very humbly encourage everybody, whatever little service that you can do and whatever appeals to you, but please try and do service in the association of devotees. I know we've had a lockdown and we've just been tied to our homes now, but now the manor is opened up. There's lots of opportunities for services. Of course, your greatest service is chanting and, you know, your home and children and family. But whenever you can make time, If you can associate and perform some devotional services, honestly, I'm telling you, it is just amazing. And like I say, no matter how much I say, but the proof is in the pudding. Unless you eat the pudding, you will not know how sweet it is, even if I tell you that it's very sweet. So, try and have the pudding and you'll
Thank you
enjoy
so
it.
much. It was so nice.
Definitely,
Yes,
definitely.
service is also very important.
I mean, recently, because I couldn't do it in lockdown time, now I really was missing it, as I've now gone back. I'm doing it kind of regularly now. And it's such a wonderful feeling, when you do things for Krishna and with the other devotee around. It's just absolutely, you get so refreshed. Your brain is, it's the feeling is just absolutely wonderful. Yeah, I would suggest to anybody, just do any little service. It's really amazing. Amazing. I know we do service at home. I mean, we do our puja and everything, but in the temple, because it's different.
Yes,
It's really
yes.
different.
Yes,
Thank
thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji.
I would like to echo some of the goodness that came out of your service. You're amazing, really, because what does one seek out from a guru? Is this humility? You said something earlier on that really touched me. And you're not just a preacher, you also have these feelings and these experience that we are talking about, which is wonderful because it's humility really you're showing. So that's what attracts us to you so much.
Mataji, I'm like I say, I always say this, I'm just, copy and paste. I'm just echoing what the other devotees in our ISKCON movement have said. This is nothing of mine. On my own, I'm just...
You're doing it with your heart, and we can feel it. That's the main thing. The little question I have, which is, it is a very, I just want to know, how do we know when we acquire faith? What would it look like? This is what I want to know, because we do use this word a lot, but do we know?
Yeah, so practically, let's put it this way, practically, when you see a shift in your lifestyle, very, very mundane and practical example. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, let's say my example, every weekend would be spent going to some mall or the other for shopping, or going out for dinner, or going out with the children. Now, I'm not saying that there is anything wrong with it, because we still do it. But the attraction to it is just to keep the children happy. Personally, if I had a choice between going to the temple and doing some service or going and watching a movie, obviously I would pick up the service first. And that in a small way is showing me that I want to do it because I am developing the faith in devotional service, developing the faith in what Krishna is telling me. So that's just one example. There could be so many, because every individual will have different take on how they feel their faith is developing. But this is a very, very basic example. And you will see in yourself that just in your day-to-day life, things are changing. You're not doing the same things that you did earlier. You're not enjoying doing the same things that you did earlier. You would rather, probably read a book, listen to a lecture, listen to kirtan, whatever appeals to you. Whatever appeals to you. So,
and another little thing that struck me in your talk, on the slide, I noticed it says Maya Devi, and I thought, how can she be addressed as that, Devi? Is that, would you say that's enviousness?
No, she is Devi. You need to understand that these personalities, these demigods, they are playing a role. They are serving the Supreme Lord. She is not doing anything against the Lord. She is actually doing service. And it's a very difficult service. She does not like to keep all of us in this prison. She wants to see us getting liberated, but she has to perform this service because she cannot allow anybody with even a tinge of enviousness to enter the spiritual world. Because can you imagine what we'll do if with our enviousness and anger and greed we enter the spiritual world? So she is actually doing a very, very great service to the Lord. And that is why she's addressed as Maya Devi. You see? She's, you know, we may think that, oh, she's, you know, she's doing this, but she is performing a very thankless service for the Lord. And the Lord is, I'm sure, very, very happy with her service.
There is a verse called Devi hi Esha Gunamai. So Krishna calls Devi hi Esha Gunamai. She is my divine energy.
Devi, that's Daivi, Devi hi Shagunamai Mama Maya Duratyaya. He says that.
He is divine. So that's
Correct.
why she's Devi.
Correct. But that's why even the demigods, you know, even the demigods, that is why you never ever insult any demigods, because you need to understand that they all have their roles to play. You know, it's important to understand that what is their position. It's not like as Vaishnavas we are praying to the Supreme Lord and we know Krishna is the Lord, does not mean that we are insulting the others, because Shiva is the greatest Vaishnav. What is important to understand, what is the consciousness in which you approach the demigods? Do you approach them for material benefits? Do you approach them asking for spiritual benefits, asking them for giving you pure love of God? So if you approach them in that way, then it's right. But if you approach them for material benefit, that is not advised. See, in the Gita, it says, isn't it? Krishna says that those who approach the demigods will, you know, go to the demigods. Those who approach the Pitras will, you know, he says that clearly. So it is your consciousness. See, the whole thing to understand is what is your consciousness. That is why so many times in our discussions we've said, you know, sthane sthita, you're not changing your position. What you're changing is your consciousness. Very important. Before we take any more questions, I've got a question from Surabhi Mataji on the chat. And she says, may I ask, who has seen the liberation of devotees without scientific evidence? Can we say for common people like me that following Krishna is mainly good faith installation in fallen people who need some faith or hope in life for starters? So, Surabhi Mataji, very, very valid question for somebody who is just starting out. Now think about this, coming from, let's say, an Indian or a Hindu background, at least we know about Krishna. But think when Prabhupada went to the West and he was talking about this blue boy, you know, playing the flute. People had never even heard of him, ever. Still, they developed faith. Now, there's 2-3 things that you can see. One is they developed faith in Prabhupada, in what he was talking, what he was saying. They had complete, without a doubt faith in his words. And they developed love for him. And because of that, because of then the Guru Kripa, because the mercy of a pure devotee, then they started developing love for Krishna. So for us also, yes, I agree that sometimes it is very, very difficult. But, you know, we had our temple president, His Grace Shruti Dharma Prabhu. He's no longer with us. But I remember one of the first sanghas that I had gone for, and he was there. And he said that, yes, people may say, you've not seen what happens after death. But then he said, you know, why not just do what you think is right rather than regret that you didn't do it? You don't know, like I don't know and you don't know. The atheist doesn't know, the theist doesn't know. Why not do something that is good rather than regret, you know, that you've not done it? That's one thing. And the second thing is, like I said to you, that you develop faith in the people around you. That is why you need gurus. Because then the guru will give you the mercy, the guru will give. It says that bhakti can only come from bhakti. Bhakti does not come just like that. And who has bhakti? The devotees have bhakti. When you associate with devotees, you will see that you will get that faith and that devotion. That's one. And there is a second part of your question. Struggling to understand Durga Devi referred to as Maya Devi, and this envy we talk about in the verse is in reference to. I'm not very clear with your question, but one thing that I'm clear about is Durga Devi referred to as Maya Devi. Yes, she is. She's referred to as Maya Devi. she is actually doing a very, very important work for Krishna. As you know, all of these are expansions of Krishna. They have come to perform some or the other activity. Her job is that of a prisoner. You see? So prison warden. Her job is that of a prison warden. She needs to keep all the prisoners in the prison till they have corrected themselves. You know, in the US, they have correctional facilities. So this material world is a correctional facility for all of us. For all of us who want to be independent of Krishna, who are envious of Krishna, who think that they are the controllers. I am the controller, I am the master. You see? So for such people, we have been sent to this material world in order to change our understanding, change our mood, change our consciousness. And she is the prison warden. Her responsibility is to see to it that all of us correct ourselves, and then she will allow us to go back to the spiritual world.
Thank you. I'm still trying to understand. Thank you so much.
No
Thank you.
problem. Surabhi Mataji, bear in mind one thing, that things are slowly revealed to you. You cannot obviously understand everything because this is so vast, but they will be revealed to you. And it is very nice to ask questions and discuss, because then you start understanding more.
Yeah, and I really liked it that bhakti comes from bhakti. So, yeah, and try to do something, that is good, rather than just thinking,
Yes.
I may have done that, I may have done that, and thank you so much.
No problem at all.
Hare Krishna Mataji, can you please repeat everyone? There is a lot of disturbance.
Sorry, I'm just going to, there is some, okay, that I've done that. Somebody has raised their hand and I don't see a name. So.
Can I ask a question, Mataji? Yes.
Give me 1 minute, Rupa Mataji. There is some J iPhone who's raised the hand. Please unmute yourself if you've got a question or comment. Or is that by mistake, maybe? Okay. Okay, that's fine. Yes, Rupa Mataji.
Krishna, yes. How can we get the service in the temple? Is there any contact that we can?
Yes. If you can send me a message directly, I will let you know who to contact and whatever else, because we have a team which is called the Volunteer Care, VCC, and I'm part of the VCC. So I will let you know exactly who to contact and how to get about services.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, your class was so wonderful as always. I love your classes. It's so intellectual, so nice, and it's from your heart and from your experience. So it just goes in.
No experience, Mataji. No experience at all. Just copy paste.
Mataji, you're doing service. See, you said yourself that when you do service in the association of devotees, your consciousness changes. So it is experience. It is first-hand experience.
No, definitely. Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
It was wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Surabhi Mataji, my number is on the on the group, the link that I sent today. My number is on that. Is that okay? Or I can actually just put it over here, 0791203979. That's my number.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I thought Leela Purushottam Prabhu wanted to say something. I don't know if he wants to do that.
Yes, Prabhuji, I will. Leela Purushottam Prabhuji, I've unmuted. Yes.
Thank you for allowing me. Actually, I didn't raise my hand, but anyhow, sorry for being unable to join in time because of advances and hearing problem. But I am always learning quite a lot from our chat group, especially from particularly Devi. Thank you very much for enlightening me along with the other group members. So I hope you continue indefinitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. You're such a senior devotee, Prabhuji. And you're saying this. It's your blessing. I take it as your blessing. Please bless me.
No, you're definitely automatically blessed by everyone, especially Prabhupada. And we look forward to joining the chat group regularly. If I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, I just have a request. When you close,
Yes.
can we ask devotees to pray for the quick recovery of Radha Vinod Prabhu? As we know, he went through a stroke.
Yes.
He's a wonderful devotee, so we want to keep him in our prayer.
Yes. Before I close, there is one question on the group. Is Durga Devi the sister of Krishna? If so, is there any scriptural reference to back it up? Yes, Mataji, I will look for some scriptural reference and I will send it to you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, isn't Durga Devi the when Krishna was in the
Yes.
prison? So when she came out, isn't it, as a as a what do you call the Vani? What is it? Akashvani, isn't it, that you will be the person who will kill you is in something.
Yes.
I forgot. But that's the story, isn't it? That she turned out she wasn't killed. She when Kamsa tried to kill, she just went into the sky.
Yes. So I will send the scriptural evidence. The only request I have is whoever has asked this question, I can't see your name. If you would please send me this question or a personal message, because I don't want to send it on the group. I don't want to, send too many messages on the group. So if that's okay, if you can send me a personal message, I will send you the evidence. That's one. And then, sorry, it's just going on. I know it's almost 9, and whoever devotees who you want to leave the session, you're more than welcome. I don't want to hold on to all of you, but there are some questions, so I'm just trying to answer. Surabhi Mataji, you're saying Navratri starts tomorrow, and I will be thinking, am I praying to Maya? So Surabhi Mataji, I will give you a very, very easy example here, and which I have heard, I can't remember from, I'm sure a lot of ISKCON acharyas. Think about this, right? So you've gone for, let's say you've gone for a function where you have the prime minister coming, for the function. And then you have other various, deputies and council ministers and all of those people. And you go on the stage and you actually ignore the prime minister and you garland the deputy ministers. Isn't the deputy minister going to get, because he knows that the higher post is of the prime minister and he should be given the first respect. So this is exactly what is happening between Krishna and the demigods. When you in front of Krishna, you're ignoring Krishna and you're acknowledging the demigods.
No,
the demigods get embarrassed. Sorry. So the demigods. Yes, Surabhi Mataji.
No. It's not about ignoring anyone. It's just about acknowledging and keeping them at a level, I don't know.
Yes, no, that's true, Surabhi Mataji. Again, it's very true. But
you're not ignoring, because right from my childhood, I've been brought up in a Hindu family, and
same.
My daughter is also called Krishna at home, so we are ardent followers of
No. I understand. I'm just trying to address the question. Yeah, I'm just trying to address the question because a lot of people have this question that, what do we do? And so what it is Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that if you water the root of the plant, then the entire plant is nourished. You see? So when you actually go to Krishna, then everybody else is also happy. So Durga Devi is actually happy. And you're saying that, are you praying to Maya? No, you're not praying to Maya, because like I said, what is your consciousness? When you are celebrating Navratri and you're praying to Durga Devi and you're praying to her that please give me devotion of Krishna, she's very happy. You see?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope that helps. So like I said, it's just the consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem.
Yes, similarly, Mataji, like this Durga Puja is for the Bengalis. And, I love to, even in the temple, I used to do service. So I love doing service. So it's not about anything else. It's just about, I know Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but I just want to help in the whatever arrangement they are doing and things like that. So it is, I think, it's not about ignoring Krishna. It's just about being respectful to everybody and Krishna, obviously, the Supreme, and then respecting the demigods as well.
That's exactly.
Because they are working for Krishna.
Yeah, Yeah, that's exactly what Prabhupada and our acharyas say, is that we cannot disrespect or ignore anybody. We cannot disrespect or ignore Shiva. He's one of the greatest Vaishnava. We cannot disrespect or ignore Durga Devi because, she is Krishna's expansion. She's doing service for Krishna. We cannot disrespect Indra. We cannot disrespect anybody for that matter. But
isn't
we also should
worshipping?
realize, we also should realize that the root of that tree, where it has got so many branches and leaves, the root is Krishna. You
So
see,
you just worship Krishna.
that's it. Let me water the root, and the branches and leaves will be nourished and happy. That's it. If that makes sense.
Yes, like Bharatma say that we should only worship Krishna, not the demigods. Of course, we pay respect, but worshipping only Krishna, not others. We have respect for the others, but not worshipping.
Yeah, but Palika Mataji, I also understand that this is a process. It's a journey. One can't one fine day just wake up and say, all right,
Absolutely.
What you've been brought up with, like it takes time to kind of, understand these things. It takes time. And that is why there is no harm if you're doing something which you've done all your life. Yes, continue to do it till you read, understand, develop complete faith, and then change if you want to.
Yes, true.
Krishna never forces anything. Right? So that's it.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna,
Mataji.
Mataji, you see how popular you are. Nobody wants you to go. We're squeezing every drop from you tonight.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji.
You generated so much inquiry. That's the key to it. It's so special.
No, it's lovely because when we have discussions, that's when
yes,
we
absolutely.
So it's
And
Mataji, it is very nice.
And the stories you give us qualify every ounce of what you give us.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji.
Mataji, in the school of Bhakti, they are teaching the demigods, how each and every demigod is connected to Krishna, because they are working for, say, Ganesh as well. They taught about Ganesh, how Ganesh is removing the obstacles, like he's like Lord Narasimha is removing the obstacles in the path of Bhakti. So every demigod is working for Krishna.
Yeah, but
so,
Mataji, Lord Narasimha is not a demigod. He's an expansion.
No, not Lord Narasimha. I'm talking about Ganesh. Ganesh is like Vigna Vinayak.
Yes. But again, he's a Vignaharta. When you go to him, Vignaharta, don't pray to him for removing material obstacles. Pray to him for removing spiritual obstacles.
Yeah, obstacles from Bhakti. Yeah,
correct. Like I keep saying, it's just the consciousness. That's all. You pray to the same people, but what is your consciousness and what are you asking for? That changes. When you develop more and more faith and become more Krishna conscious, only that changes, nothing else. You don't stop praying. You don't, just suddenly one fine day say, I don't believe in this. No, that doesn't happen. And that should not happen.
No. Yeah.
There's just one more message. Surabhi Mataji, yes, anybody is free to direct message me. My number I've given on here. It's on the chat group. You're more than welcome to message me. I am quite good at replying on WhatsApp messages. Not that great on phone calls, but really good on messages.
Thank you.
Yes. Did you have a question? Anybody else? I don't know who this is, but if not, then it is 9:05. And I don't want to keep all of you all more and more late because, it's just, so we'll stop here. If I have all your permission, we'll stop here.
Hare Krishna.
Wonderful class. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.